All right. This is a question I missed from Super Chat on my women's hangout. Normally I get them, or I try to get them. Normally I try to do it while we're in the flow. But like I say, like anybody says, you're human. You don't always get it. And I appreciate Tony for emailing me and reminding me. If I don't answer a question during the Super Chat, especially during the hangout, do what Tony did. Just email me. Yeah, I appreciate all donations, and I know just like everybody else, you guys work hard for your money, and you do deserve an answer. So here goes. He asked me what was the difference between Star Wars being bad and Black Panther being good. He asked me, was it choice in directors? That has something to do with it. Biggest reason why Star Wars wasn't as well received and Black Panther was, as far as storyline, is because even though Ryan Coogler actually altered the storyline of the Black Panther, he didn't alter it that much. He actually stuck to pretty much all of the comic book canon. So he pretty much stuck to the story. Like he altered some facts about Killmonger. I think where he went to school and the facts of what his father tried to do and that kind of stuff. He did alter that, but the basic tenet of Killmonger was pretty accurate. Plus, he drew upon a lot of the old archetypes. Even though it was couched in comic book lore and surrounded by this landscape, a lot of old African archetypes were actually instilled inside that script. And I think third is that I think they put a lot more care and attention into this particular script. They actually catered toward the African American community, and they got really top notch people that actually come in and Disney let them do what they needed to do to make it a good picture, to make it a good script. Even though Disney had a little bit of oversight and they upped the money, they actually really let Ryan Coogler and his staff actually do the movie that they wanted to do. In the reverse, I think Disney was too heavy-handed in Star Wars. They scrapped basically all of Star Wars canon. I mean, they scrapped it, and they made a new script or a new canon out of loosely put together elements. Like everything, they brought in the old characters, but they actually changed almost everything about the old characters. So everything that you loved about Star Wars or the Star Wars genre, they actually changed because they wanted to make it a feminist movie. So they were really, really heavy-handed in what they did. A lot of points didn't make sense, and they tried to cover it with comedy. So Disney was more interested about it being, how can I say, popular with women, rather than trying to tell a good story. Whereas Ryan Coogler and his staff were trying to tell a really good Black story with an African theme. And they hoped that it would be popular. They hoped that it would be resonant with not only Black people, but all people. That is the reason I think that the story was actually excellent. I mean, you put in stuff here or there. It's even down to the point where the rhino was wrestled down and the rhino licked Okoye at the end on her face. Even down to that. That was part of the comic book. He didn't stray that far away from the comic. He stayed true to the story. Whereas Disney wanted to make a female-centered story, and they recreated it from whole cloth, and it wasn't well thought out. And when the final product came together, it was pieced together. If you take what Rogue One it initially tried to do, what actually wound up happening, because most men hated The Last Jedi, actually hated the Force Awakens, because it didn't make sense, because it was pieced together. They actually changed Rogue One and altered Rogue One to actually fit what Star Wars fans liked, so it was actually more popular than The Force Awakens. So you have, on one hand, a director that loved the comics as it was, took the story canon, altered it a little bit to make it more updated and relevant. But he told a good story first, he made a good film first, and then he hoped the audience liked it. What Disney tried to do with Star Wars, they catered toward an audience first and they pieced up a story behind it. They didn't care whether it was a good story or a bad one. They kind of like slapped everything together and then put it out because they wanted to push a narrative rather than tell a good story. So in my estimation, in my opinion, that was why Star Wars, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi failed, because they didn't keep the elements with what people liked about Star Wars. Because after there's like I would say 80% of Star Wars published canon is after the Return of the Jedi. So there was, if you wanted to tell a good female story, there was plenty of good, strong females in the original Star Wars canon. There was Luke Skywalker had a child. Leia and Han had 3 children. They could have actually pieced together a actually really, really good narrative and a really, really good story out of existing canon in Star Wars, but they wanted to push a different narrative. They wanted to piece it together because they wanted to sell it to feminist women, and that's why it didn't work, in my opinion. It's still sold. Most of the guys didn't like it. A lot of your original Star Wars fans didn't like it, and that's how come it's universally hated by most Star Wars fans. It didn't stick to its original canon, while the opposite is true. Black Panther, it stuck to canon. It altered it a little bit to kind of update the story and make the story a little bit more relevant, more personal to Black people. But for the most part, it was pretty much untouched. And like Ryan Coogler and the actors and the writers said, we wanted to tell a good story first that was relevant first, and then they hoped that people liked it rather than the opposite. Tony, I hope that's answers what your question was. I'm sorry I missed it in Super Chat. Edit and put this one up, and you can comment in the comment section. Next time, jump on. I know people like Super Chat to get the questions and answers, but next time, jump on and throw some elbows. Okay. With that, I'm gonna drop off of here. This is BGS out, and I will see you Super Chatters on the next one.